Before the video starts, I'd like to thank the 1,000+ people that voted on my community poll requesting this video. It was really awesome to see that many people respond with great ideas and different requests for content. Now that my exams are over and I actually have some sort of holiday time to spare, I hope to get back into playing some Overwatch and creating content around the game, especially with Hammond recently being announced. As decided by the poll I had made under a month ago in my community section, many people wanted to see a guide from me that covers the topics of warming up and practicing as D.Va, which I hope to do within this video. It's hard to think of what advice to offer you as a viewer though, because with the limited time I've had to play last season, season 10, this is the most aiming I've had to do all season. Not much. I'm going to divide the video into 3 segments: practicing, warming up, and settings. Timestamps are going to be in the description as usual if you purely want one part of the video, as it's going to be a lot to cover and I don't want to drone on too long, especially if you only want to see a specific part. Before I do start the video properly though, I want to first preface this entire video contains my preferences. I'm not going to claim that these are the best available or that they should be the only one you should ever be using, but some of my explanations for why I have things the way I do might make you change your own settings, possibly for the better. As the most active method of improvement, other than playing the game itself, practicing is important to becoming better as a player and increasing your abilities. Whilst it might not be entertaining to hear, practice does make perfect, no matter what you're doing in life. The reason Grandmasters, top 500s or professional players are where they are is because of their immense skill and knowledge of the game that they play, acquired through practice both in the game and through games of a similar genre, grinding them day in and day out. Generally speaking, practicing with an Overwatch should not be done with bots, as most of the skills you could possibly be practicing do not properly convert when playing against real players. Practicing against bots will teach you how an AI behaves or reacts, not how humans would. I'll talk more about this idea later in the warming up section, but in my opinion, bots in the training range are terrible for practice because of their predictable and repetitive movement, along with their very large headshot hitbox, which won't improve your ability against real players, as they will never move in the same fashion as these bots or share the same hitboxes. Bots in custom games, however, are good for niche training activities, as they can be customized to your liking and emulate a real scenario as best as the game can allow. If you're watching this video and are a D.Va main like me, self-destruct is one of the most important parts of your kit to master, and thankfully is one of the easiest things that you can practice properly outside of just grinding games. My biggest videos outside of my D.Va guide are my alt spot series, so practicing my own D.Va bombs is something that I do regularly both for practice and enjoyment, as it's fun for me to find and share new bomb spots to the community. I'll show you how to set up one of these custom games to practice your usage of D.Va bombs, and even for those of you watching that aren't D.Va players, there are still some tools within this example that I can show you that you can apply to practice tech, such as Lucio wall riding, Pharah fuel control, Soldier helix jumping, and other character based tech that can be practiced more easily in a custom game than in a quick play, arcade, or competitive game type. Because I am primarily a D.Va channel, I'll be showcasing my own settings for practicing alt spots within custom games, and once I've started the game mode, give you a brief rundown on how to practice them properly. As a general guideline for other characters, try to keep settings as close to standard as possible, as you're trying to practice things you can actually apply. If you're practicing managing Pharah's fuel level or wall riding as Lucio, changing speed boost or hover jets to 0% cooldown won't help you in real games, as they won't ever be this way. If you're practicing something repetitive, such as helix jumping as Soldier 76 or D.Va bombs, then changing cooldown numbers is understandable, as I have with my own setup shown here. When practicing D.Va ults, you want to pick the map of your choice, obviously, and find the type of bombs you're looking to practice. In this example, I'm going to practice some simple defensive spots on Hanamura A. 2 out of the 3 spots in this video are all available on my Hanamura alt spots guide, so if you're out of touch on this map, you can click the card in the upper right to relearn the spots available. When practicing or creating alt spots, I try to meet 3 criteria. They have to be easily reproducible, only use boosters once, and have to land in a predictable location every time with some margin for error. You don't have to follow these rules when finding your own alt spots whilst practicing, but all of my spots in the videos I make aim to meet those conditions, and I feel like they should produce the best results. For example, with this spot I found behind point A, I know exactly where the bomb will land and who it will kill every single time, even if I don't aim in the perfect location. This bomb in particular will kill everyone on point that isn't behind the staircase or behind the bell. The next bomb I'm going to practice is more of an aggressive defense bomb, and I'd personally use this one to split teams up or get a pick to delay a fight. For example, if one of your healers had died and was coming back to point. If you're searching for new bombs, you can test the area of effect with just a solo player, i.e. yourself, by seeing where you land once your boosters expire, as that is where your exploding mech would land if you press Shift and Q without a delay. If this location is too low, you can then start practicing that spot with different delays on Q to find the right height for the bomb to explode. Your cooldowns are set to 0 for a reason, so I encourage you to make mistakes when practicing or allow for mistakes while practicing, as it might lead you to accidentally finding new things that you didn't know about before. I intentionally delay my bomb in this clip here just to show you that the location the bomb explodes is the same location that you land in once your boosters expire, just for this example.
Nerf this!
For fun, I'm also going to try and find another defensive ult spot within this video that I haven't made up before. To make them easily repeatable, I like to use corners or door frames and distinctive features of the map which lets other players learn the spots more easily. I'll use the door frame above the health pack room in point A for this example. I want this bomb to cover the large garden area, focusing more towards the choke. Gauging where a good place to aim would be takes practice, so I guess this spot would be appropriate. It's a bit too far to the right, but explodes in the perfect height as it would detonate above a Reinhardt shield, which is ideal for choke point bombs. Booster timing on bombs is super important, as boosting for too little or too long can ruin a bomb, as I'll show in my example. Warming up and practice are often mixed up by many players, even though they're clearly defined as different things. The purpose of warming up before playing competitive in Overwatch is to ensure that you're entering the game at your full potential and you're able to give 100% to the matches you play, as opposed to going in cold. Unlike practice, warming up can be done for as little or as long as you like until you as a player feel ready. Warming up is not about improving yourself, but making sure that you can play at your actual skill level before you go into games. Whilst warm-up is mostly done within the game or through external tools with something like Aim Hero or similar, there are additional things that you can do to positively influence your ability to play before you go into competitive. It's often vastly underrated, but mindset is extremely important when going into comp games. Making sure you're hydrated, fed, and mentally comfortable that you can play your best is just as important as warming up your aim in game. There are many methods of warming up that you could do, depending on the amount of time you have available. If you're going to warm up before playing competitive, I would advise you play the same type of character as the one you aim to play in comp. There is little use warming up on a projectile DPS such as Hanzo if you're then going to go and play a hit scan hero like Tracer or McCree. Returning to the topic of the training range, it can be used as a quick way to warm yourself up before a game, and more importantly, check things like your FPS and ping before you play. If warming up for anything longer than 5 minutes though, I would definitely recommend playing an actual game against real human beings, and if you're like me and hate the clusterfuck nature of quick play, you can warm up using the LFG tool recently introduced, which in the experience I've had with it gives you team comps pretty close to what you get in competitive. You know, actual healers. Big surprise in quick play, I know. If available, you can also use the alternate competitive mode, be it free-for-all, elimination or deathmatch, as a valuable warm-up tool, as it's a mode that's going to push you to play as well as you possibly can, as other players around you will be doing the same. Being the most opinionated section of this video, settings are entirely up to the player. Copying my sensitivity, video settings or key bindings or any other pro player for that matter won't inherently make you better, but I always suggest swapping things up if my reasoning for settings appeals to you or any other player for that matter. To reiterate, having different things to me or anyone else here isn't always a bad thing as long as it works comfortably for you. For video settings, I run almost absolute minimum for the most frames and the least input lag possible. Exceptions to these minimal settings are things like model detail and local reflections. The former I keep high for visual presentability in my videos, and the latter because I enjoy my golden guns looking nice, and having local reflections off actually makes your golden guns look pretty shitty. I've also raised my contrast and gamma slightly because I think it makes the colours pop better on my monitor, but again, this is completely preferential. I know actually some people in my video comment section have given me flack for how high contrast my game looks in videos. As for crosshair, which most people seem to request from other players, such as pro players and streams or whatever, I just use an extremely simple one with a small gap in the middle so I can see the center of my crosshair through the gap, so I can see what head I'm clicking on. If changing your own crosshair for D.Va in mind, I would recommend that you don't use the default one, as the bloom indicator is useless, as you should always be relying on aiming centrally on your target, and it's unnecessary clutter having a giant circle around where you're supposed to be aiming. D.Va in both forms has no drop-off either, so it's unnecessary to run any special type of crosshair to account for drop-off as you would with a character such as Hanzo or Torbjorn, for example. For sensitivity and DPI, I'm running 2.2 in-game and 2000 DPI on my mouse. If you're a DPS main and you're hearing that, I can understand that this might seem like a very high sensitivity, but as a tank player, having to make quick 180 flicks or having to boost around in circles as D.Va kind of requires a high sensitivity in my opinion. D.Va is an odd tank for aiming and sensitivity because she requires precise aim with her rockets and her cannons, but also requires quick sweeping movements whilst controlling Matrix around multiple spread teammates or boosting around sharp angles. Before signing off, however, I don't want to forget about those of you here that play on console. After getting a capture card to stream Detroit Become Human with my girlfriend, I've actually had some real hands-on experience whilst playing on console, so I thought I'd include the settings that I've been running and I've been most comfortable playing with. Shout out to one of my subscribers, Zeltriskel, who actually gave me some really important pointers and guidelines for setting up console settings and for D.Va and teaching me how to get comfortable with them. Personally, I wish that console could have some different aim assist levels between mini D.Va and mech D.Va, as I found it quite hard to find a happy medium for aim assists, as it was too high originally, and with my crosshair would be pulling towards enemies when I was trying to leave my pistol shots ahead of them, and if it was too low then I wouldn't be able to get that, headshot lock on with my cannons whilst aiming. That's all from me. I hope this video helped you in some way. I understand this video is well overdue, as usual with my channel, but I had a lot of difficulty getting back into the video editing grind, especially with a video on something as odd as aiming, practice, or warming up. I know it did win the poll and I offered it as an option for the poll, so I didn't want to disappoint the 600 plus of you that did vote for it, but I've been stuck playing Reinhardt for Season 10, so there's not really an awful lot of aiming required out of fire striking, the enemy Reinhardt or the enemy Zarya. I've got a few more interesting videos lined up that I can now produce since I'm finally done with this one, so I thank you for sticking with me and I wish you the best of luck in your games. If you're interested in seeing these videos early, or want to involve yourself in the decisions of how I make these videos, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'd like to thank the 5 of you that currently are supporting me, especially Reza, Anti and Pocket Healer, and those of you who have just joined me this month. If you'd like to support me without spending a single $1 do, leaving a comment for me to read or a like on the video makes me just as happy, as I check my comments every morning when I wake up, and it's great to see some discussion between all of you. Thank you so much for watching, and I bid you farewell.